All right, welcome SAT. Let's start with a warm-up today. We're going to start on some strategies. Okay, we're for solving for P. This is just a simple linear equation. Of course, you guys remember the first thing you do is add like terms first. So we have 8P minus 8 on the right. We're just going to bring the P minus 1 down. Then you're going to get the variables on the right side together. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to subtract 1P from both sides of the equation. And I'm doing that just to avoid negative numbers. So I'm just going to bring down the negative 1. 8P minus 1P is 7P. Bring down the negative 8. I'm going to add 8 to both sides of the equation to get 7 is equal to 7P. Then I'm going to divide both sides by 7 to get P is equal to 1. So if you put P back in the original equation, it would make the equation true. Just a quick little warm up. Okay, we're going to start our SAT prep strategies unit. This is particularly today we're going to review the method trial and error. First, let's look at what's on the SAT. There's two tests. One is a 25-minute test and one is a 55-minute test. On the 25-minute test, there's 20 questions and it's no calculator. On the 55-minute test, there's 38 questions and the calculator is permitted. Of the 20 questions on the 25-minute test, 15 are multiple choice and 5 are open-ended, meaning they're not multiple choice. They're what we call grid-in problems, where you have to come up with an answer yourself. On the 55-minute test, out of the 38 questions, there are 30 multiple choice, followed by, this is missing here, 8 open-ended items. It's good to know what's on the test because it's good to know how much time you have left and the problems that you should skip over. So the good news is that, let's say if you wanted a decent score, right, this will get you into University of Maryland or Morgan State or any state university in Maryland. You only have to get 60% of the questions correct. This is important, guys, because a lot of times students will get discouraged and they'll think, oh, I've already missed 3 questions in a row, I'm not going to do well. But think, if you got a 60%, you could actually get a high score of 600, and that's what we're going for here. All right, so if you look back at why is it important to know what the math SAT consists of, well, it's because time is really important, okay? So on the 25-minute, let's say, for example, what you're going to do is you're going to slow way down on the first section because that's where the easy problems are. So let's say problems 1 through 9. You know, slow way down because the problems are tricky and they're going to try and trick you. And I'm going to show you all those tricks as well. But we're going to start by slowing way down on the first section. And then, believe it or not, I'm going to counsel you to skip the second section entirely initially. And let's say that's like numbers 10 through 15. Remember, there's 15 multiple choice items. So the exam goes from easiest to hardest. So number 15 on the multiple choice section is one of the harder questions, right? But if you spend most of your time on 1 through 9, you've almost already gotten half the test correct, right? You're already at 50%. So we're going to skip the second section entirely. Then on the grid ends, we're talking about number 16 through 20. It starts again, it reboots. So the easy grid in problems are like 16, 17, right? So you're going to pick and choose the grid ins that you can answer. And then if you have time left, right? And it's okay if you don't. If you have time left, then you can go back and work on some other problems. If you don't have time after you've done that, then what you can do is just fill in the answers that you skipped, like just bubble them in, make sure you answer them, okay? Because there's no penalty for wrong answers anymore. There's you can still get it right if you guess, right? So that's my advice, and I'll go over that more in our next lesson. Okay, so let's talk about the classic method, trial and error. And I write here, don't feel guilty about using trial and error, right? Because even if you know how to do the algebra, when you use this trial and error method, not only are you doing the problem, but you're also checking your answer at the same time. But let's be stubborn and say we're going to try and do this problem using plain old algebra. So let's say, okay, I recognize this kind of problem. This is 2x minus 2 squared is equal to 64. Okay, so you say, all right, let's just say, for example, you may not, but say you recognize this as a square root problem. So the first thing you would do is take the square root of both sides of the equation. And you also have to remember that when you do that, you take the plus or minus. So the square root will undo the square and you're left with 2x minus 2 is equal to plus or minus 8. Let's see, if you add 2 to both sides of the equation, you end up getting two different answers here, right? So you get 2x is equal to 8 plus 2, which would be 6, or 2x is equal to 8 minus 2. 8 plus 2, no, 8 plus 2 would be, well, let's say 2x is equal to 8 minus 2, that would be 6. 8 plus 2 would be 10. So your answers would be, oh, sorry, geez, Cindy, let's start this again. Okay, so you would end up getting 2x equals negative 8 plus 2, which is negative 6. And then you would get 2x is equal to positive 8 plus 2, which equals to 10. And you just solve that. So you get x is equal to negative 3 or x is equal to 5. But then you'd have to be really savvy in remembering what they tried to trick you with here, and that is they only want the positive solution, right? So we're going to throw out this. And you would get your answer, x is equal to 5. All right, so that's a lot of writing, and that's a lot of algebra that you have to remember. Let me show you the easier way that you can do this. What they're saying here is that 2x minus 2 quantity squared must be equal to 64. So let's try this option. Let's try A, 4. See if that makes the equation true. Well, 2 times 4 is 8. 8 minus 2 is 6. And 6 squared is definitely not equal to 64. So we can eliminate that. All right, let's try the next answer. 2x minus 2 quantity squared, does that equal 64? This time we're going to try the option 5. So 2 times 5 is 10. 10 minus 2 is 8. 8 squared is equal to 64. So we have our answer. And you're done. And if you compare the amount of writing algebraically to what you just did by checking the answers, this is a better way to go for this test. All right, let's try another one. This one's a little bit more involved and a little tricky at the same time. The important thing that you recognize here is that you want to know what they're asking you for. So they're saying, find a possible value for x. Well, let's try. Let's do our trial and error method. So let's say A. Let's say x is equal to 3. So what we can do here is we can put 3 in for x in the equation, and that would tell you what y would have to be, right? So this is 6 plus y equals 12. If you subtract 6 from both sides, you get 6. So if x is 3, then y is 6 in this equation, right? So we've already checked the first equation. Let's see if it makes the second equation true. So the second equation is something squared plus 2y squared, does that equal 33? All right, so we're saying that our x is 3, so 3 would go here, and our y is 6. Oops, let's put 6 there. So we've got 9 plus 2 times 36, that's 72. That certainly does not equal 33. So our option x is equal to 3 has to be eliminated. Let's try B. Let's say x is equal to 4. Well, we'll try the first equation again up here. 2x plus y equals 12. And this time we're saying x is 4, right? This option. So this would be 8 plus y equals 12. So that means that y must be equal to 12 minus 8, which is 4. So both x and y are both 4 in this case. All right, so if we check that in the second equation, x squared plus 2y squared is supposed to equal 33. Well, we know our x is 4 because we're trying option B. And when x is 4, y is 4. So let's see if that's true. 16 squared plus 16 times 2, 32. So that would be 16 plus 32. That is definitely not equal to 33. So we can cross that option off. Let's try C. This is when x is equal to 5. Oops. All right, so now we're checking this option 5. So this would be 10 plus y equals 5. So that would mean y, when you subtract 10 from both sides, would equal negative 5. So let's see if that works. The second equation is x squared plus 2y squared. Does that equal 33? So let's put our option 5 in there, see if that works. So when x is 5, we figured out that y must be negative 5, right? So here we get 25 plus, oops, y was, I think I made a little error here. Let's see. X is 5. 2 times 5 plus y equals, I see what I did. This should have been a 12. Something didn't look right there. I'm just getting that from this equation right here. I don't know where I got 5. Okay, so if we take 10 and subtract it from both sides, we'd get y is equal to 2. All right, so now let's check it in the other equation. Something squared plus 2y squared, does that equal 33? So we know x is 5 and y is 2. So if you take, this would be 25 plus 8, and that does equal 33. So this checks out, right? So C is the answer. Pretty cool, right? This system of equations, by the way, is one of the more difficult systems of equations to solve algebraically. It's one of the, when I teach it, I don't even teach squares together with linears. So It would be a difficult problem to solve, but using trial and error here, much simpler to solve. Okay, here's another example. It says the sum of 4 consecutive integers is 82. So these are some buzzwords here. Sum means you're adding things up, right? And is the same thing as saying equal. So the sum of 4 consecutive integers is equal to 82. So it would be the first integer plus the second integer. And consecutive means right after another, plus the third integer plus the fourth integer. So again, you have to understand what they're asking you for. Here they're saying find the greatest of the 4 integers. So let's try A. So this would be 19 is the largest number. So that would be the fourth, right? So the third would be 18, the second would be 17, and the first would be 16. So let's see, if we take all of those and add them up, they equal 70. So this is not the greatest of the 4 integers. So let's try B. Well, if 20 was the greatest, then the next greatest would be 19, 18, and 17 this time. So we'll see, does that work? No, that's equal to 74. So it's not B. We already determined it's not A either. All right, let's try C. 21. So the biggest integer would be 21, and then it would go down from there. So let's see if that works. So this is equal to 78, so that does not work. So either we made an error in A, B, and C, or the answer would be D. So let's see, is the answer D? So that would be the largest, next largest, next largest, smallest. We add all those up, do we get 82? And the answer is yes. All right. I'm going to let you guys watch that video a couple times and see if you can do some problems just like that for homework. I'll just change the numbers. I just want to see if you guys can do those 3 problems for homework. But take a look at the video again if you have to, and study those problems and how I did them, and I'll make up some and put them online for you shortly. All right, that's all I have for you today.